This is Northern Light for Monday, August 24th. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Clinton County is looking at ways to transform the former Clinton Community College campus. Officials say one of the most attainable proposals is a housing development.
We have the housing needs assessment that indicates we need 1,100 units over the next 5 years. This would take a small stab at that.
Also on the show, some Adirondack paddlers are in France this week for an international dragon boat competition. They say racing has become a means of therapy for thousands of women with breast cancer.
This is an opportunity to be part of a support group without just being kind of a talking support group.
And we have a conversation with a journalist who's recounting caregiving and post-traumatic stress disorder in a new memoir.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from the View Restaurant at Mirror Lake in Lake Placid. Contemporary American cuisine, handcrafted cocktails, and select wines. Served with views of Mirror Lake and the High Peaks. MirrorLakeInn.com/dining. And from the Adirondack Artists Guild on Main Street in Saranac Lake, a gallery of 15 local artists bringing fine art to the Adirondacks for over a quarter century. AdirondackArtistsGuild.com. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Governor Kathy Hochul is trying to entice Canadian travelers to visit New York, even as trade talks between the U.S. and Canada broke down over the weekend. President Trump is imposing new 50% tariffs on certain Canadian goods after Prime Minister Mark Carney rejected Trump's trade proposal. Those tariffs are now in effect. Carney is threatening to impose retaliatory tariffs and says his country is at war with the U.S. Here in the North Country, the trade war has hurt local businesses and tourism on both sides of the border. Governor Hochul is offering discounts and other opportunities to Canadians during the final weeks of summer. According to Governor Hochul's office, spending from Canadian travelers has dropped 28% in last year when the Trump administration first imposed a slew of tariffs on Canada. Border crossings from Canada to New York dropped by 25%.
Leaders in Clinton County are considering ways to redevelop the former community college campus in Plattsburgh. Pat Bradley with the New York Public News Network reports on the results of their final feasibility study.
After 56 years teaching students, fiscal challenges led Clinton Community College to relocate to the SUNY Plattsburgh campus last year. Clinton County owns the 102 acres where the college had been sited. The main building, built in 1911, is a 50,000 square foot, 5-story former upscale hotel offering sweeping views of Lake Champlain. The recommendations of the recent feasibility study include workforce and market rate housing, all-season recreation, hospitality and dining opportunities, and preservation of the property's historic character and views of Lake Champlain. The county legislature must approve any redevelopment proposals. Legislature Chair, Republican Mark Henry, emphasizes that the legislature has an open mind on potential reuse.
I know there's a lot in there to unpack. There are still things left to do, but we don't have any preconceived notions. This is what might be, as they say, feasible. I think the legislature is looking at this as an outline.
Clinton County Industrial Development Agency Executive Director Molly Ryan says the study offers a flexible and realistic starting point for redevelopment.
The most realistic is what's identified in phase one, and that's housing. First of all, we know housing is critically needed In Clinton County, we have the housing needs assessment that indicates we need 1,100 units over the next 5 years. This would take a small stab at that. We need all types of housing across Clinton County, but the 10 acres of workforce housing really is the first target and likely the most attainable.
Ryan says this final study deviates from initial ideas for the property.
There were 3 concepts initially. One of them in particular focused very heavily on manufacturing, which most of the general public and the legislature were not in favor of. So, that was removed. It kind of became picking the best things of all of those 3 things. And I think the bigger thing is how it's being phased. The first phase was initially thought of as getting a big anchor tenant there, whereas now the focus is on drawing more people through housing and then looking at alternatives for development on the top of the hill.
The feasibility study estimates the cost of the redevelopment, coined Voyage Champlain, to be $240 million. Henry points out that will be spread out over multiple phases and years.
$240 million is a lot of money, but if you look around at large projects across the state and the country, that's not an impossible sum. And obviously, of course, there's developers involved in that. There's private money involved in that.
Ryan also emphasizes that taxpayers will not bear the redevelopment costs.
The $240 million price tag doesn't come at the cost of the taxpayer. That is going to be the efforts of the Economic Development Office combined with the Industrial Development Agency of the county to secure grant funding, to work with public-private partnerships. And most of that cost will be borne by the developers who will undoubtedly see a return on their investment.
Henry acknowledges there is some impatience in the community to move forward, but he expects that it will be a couple years before any project groundbreaking due to the time it will take for fundraising and permitting.
It's a little unfair for folks to say, well, you've been talking about this for 2 years. Well, first off, the college was there for the first year, so nothing's going to happen then. And secondly, they just got moved. And thirdly, we just got the feasibility study. So while this has been a topic of conversation among the community for a while, it was never in okay, we've got a plan, let's start doing things.
Ryan says the actual redevelopment will take into account public and stakeholder input.
The biggest thing that we heard is that people want to see some sort of public access preserved up there. It's been a landmark in this county for many, many years. And so making sure that some of the integrity of that is maintained is important.
The Clinton County Industrial Development Agency is currently applying for grants to advance site, infrastructure, subdivision, and marketing plans. In Plattsburgh, I'm Pat Bradley for the New York Public News Network.
Clinton County got the news last week that it did receive a $1 million state grant toward redevelopment of the former community college campus. It'll be used to design and construct essential infrastructure and road improvements to support a proposed 96-unit workforce housing development there. The funding comes from the state's County Infrastructure Grant Program. Several other North Country projects that support new housing development also received grants.
Lake Luzerne in Warren County was awarded $1 million for a water district rehab project. So was Clayton in Jefferson County, which will design and construct utility extensions. In Washington County, Fort Edward received $660,000 to make an improvements at the Drifting Ridge Road sewer force main and pump station. The town of Herkimer got $500,000 to address the infrastructure deficiencies and public health hazards caused by failing septic systems. Ticonderoga and Essex County will use $250,000 to upgrade sewer and stormwater systems on Champlain Avenue and McCormick Street. This is NCPR.
listening to Northern Light from North Country Public Radio. It's 8:11. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around for a conversation about a journalist on her new memoir that recounts her struggles with PTSD amid caregiving for a partner.
That's coming up in just a couple of minutes here on Northern Light, which is supported by the Adirondack Experience, the museum on Blue Mountain Lake, presenting Natural Beauty, the Art of Rustic Furniture, a temporary exhibit currently on display, theadkx.org. And from AJA Architecture and Planning in Glens Falls, providing architecture, planning, and interior design services for residential, commercial, and community spaces throughout the North Country and beyond. AJAarchitecture.com. Support also comes from you. Thank you so much for your support this summer. NCPR can stand strong because of friends like you. Direct support from you helps the NCPR news team share stories from across the region. Every story is possible because of your support. So thank you so much for your donation to NCPR this summer.
This week, thousands of women who are breast cancer survivors will meet up in the French Alps to race dragon boats. Dragon boats are huge canoes with 10 to 20 paddlers. Racing them has become a rehabilitation therapy movement for breast cancer survivors around the world. One team, Hope in a Boat, is based in the Albany area and has some North Country paddlers, including Hillary Scout Exter, who lives in Chestertown. She spoke with David Summerstein just before leaving for France.
This is actually my second bout with breast cancer. I was originally diagnosed 14 years ago, and I was looking for something that would be fun to do. The expression goes, worst team, best members, and that's kind of how I feel about dragon boating. I really love being on the water, and this is an opportunity to be part of a support group without just being kind of a talking support group. All of the members of the team are survivors, and so people really understand what it's like to go through treatment, to potentially be really scared, to be weak as a result of the surgery, and if you're in chemo or radiation and medication after, and then to build yourself up and be strong and have the camaraderie and sisterhood is just really an extraordinary experience.
And yes, you're supporting each other through all those experiences and through those tough times and, your health battles. But at the same time, you're sort of doing something together, doing something that's beautiful.
Absolutely. And it's really a kick-ass team of women. Our expression is, we do hard things. And it's just a transformative experience for everybody. Being on the water, you forget about everything. And we paddle on the Mohawk, and you see tremendous amount of wildlife, osprey, eagles, egrets, and it's a fantastic experience.
What are you most excited about this trip to France for this international dragon boat competition?
Being part of a group of 4,500 paddlers from 25 nations, 170 teams, it's going to be totally fabulous. Hope to be part of a flash mob, and there's going to be a parade of nations throughout the town, and looking forward to racing. We have 2 days of races, 500 meters in one day and 200 meters in another day. So looking forward to paddling hard, and no matter how we do, enjoying being there.
Hillary Scout Exter of Chestertown is one of 25 women racing in the Hope in the Boat dragon boat race in France this week. She spoke with David Summerstein. The International Breast Cancer Paddlers Commission Participatory Dragon Boat Festival draws 4,500 paddlers from 37 countries. It's going on all week in the French Alps.
The popular Avalanche Pass Trail in the High Peaks is expected to reopen in the winter. Last year, a thunderstorm triggered a landslide that buried the trail. Crews are reconstructing the route, which has been closed to hikers since then. According to the Adirondack Explorer, work will continue through the fall, and the finished trail is expected to have 8 rebuilt bridges, several dozen new bog bridges, rock foundations, stone steps, and better drainage. The trail is a popular route for hikers. It leads to Avalanche Lake beneath the cliffs of Mount Colden and continues to the larger Lake Colden. Some hikers have continued to use the trail despite the closure, but the DEC is warning that it's unsafe and that unauthorized use creates risk for hikers and potential rescue teams.
The Watertown Police Department is hoping to get new technology to better monitor traffic safety. According to the Watertown Daily Times, the police department got the green light from the city council last week to apply for a state grant for drones and a roadway intelligence platform. Police say it would give real-time data on speed and roadway congestion, but they say they won't be installing any new cameras. Police say they'll be vetting companies and looking into any potential privacy concerns. The state has $75 million available for police agencies across New York. The Watertown Police Department could receive up to $250,000.
Law enforcement officials stopped a terrorist attack on the state capitol last week. New York Public News Network reporters Jimmy Vielkind and Samuel King break down the latest developments on that and other stories out of Albany last week.
Hi, Samuel.
Hi, Jimmy.
Officials say they've foiled a plot to bomb the state capitol building in Albany. Federal prosecutors charged 35-year-old Jessica Bowie in connection with the attempted attack. Court papers say Bowie pledged support to ISIS and talked with informants about her plans. Samuel, you were at a press conference with the FBI and other law enforcement officials. What did they say about this plot?
Well, they released photos and messages that Bowie allegedly exchanged regarding this plan. Craig Tremaroli runs the Albany office of the FBI. He says she took several concrete steps.
She arranged to have an explosive device made out to carry this attack, even purchasing several of the required materials herself. She conducted surveillance at the Capitol at least 5 times.
When agents arrested Bowie on Wednesday, officials say she had a gun as well as what she thought was a bomb, which were both provided by the informants.
Wow. She was charged with providing support for a foreign terrorist organization, but hasn't entered a plea, and her lawyer declined to comment on this case. What are other elected officials saying about this?
Well, lawmakers say they're grateful to the FBI. Senate Republican leader Rob Wirt says this shows how important it is for state and federal law enforcement to work together. Governor Hochul hasn't been at the Capitol too much recently. She says that she's increased security this year because of a general uptick in political violence. She calls the building the center of the state government.
People visit from around the world literally every single day. So I'm grateful to the FBI for leading this investigation, foiling this plot, and protecting our people.
You know, the Capitol is simultaneously a place with lots of important people around, but that's publicly accessible because you want people to be able to interact with their government. That's why we have offices here. I wonder if this plot will mean any changes to security procedures or restrictions.
We'll have to see about that. Another big development has to do with Hochul's reelection campaign. President Trump was on Long Island recently for an event with Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, the Republican candidate for governor, and he gave quite an endorsement.
That's right. Blakeman has been really clear about his relationship with Trump. The men have known each other for years. And at this rally, Trump called Blakeman up to shake his hand, and the president said this.
We got to get Bruce in there. Nowhere is the communist attack on American society more clear than here in New York State.
Now, Trump and Governor Hochul have had, I would say, a reasonable relationship. He hasn't targeted her like he has other Democratic governors, including Gavin Newsom in California. So this was kind of new territory. Hochul was asked about the shift in tone and whether it meant that her ability to talk to the president about things like infrastructure and immigration is in jeopardy. She brushed it off.
He's attacking me now because it's campaign season and you can expect more of it. You know, what he says about me is what I would throw back at him is fake news. Fake news. Communist, socialist. It's absurd. And the voters know that.
So we'll see if these attacks keep up or if this is just a one-off.
So, Jimmy, is a Trump endorsement going to be helpful for Blakeman in New York? The president didn't carry his native state, and recent polls showed he's viewed unfavorably by 60% of likely voters.
He's certainly not universally beloved, but Republicans really do like Trump, and GOP officials say he can excite the base in red areas, including Long Island. So I'm sure we'll see a different message and packaging from Blakeman in the 5 boroughs than, say, in more rural parts of upstate New York.
We'll see indeed, Jimmy. Take care.
Talk soon, Samuel.
Those were New York Public News Network Capitol reporters Jimmy Vielkind and Samuel King. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's just about 8:22. Good morning. Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around after the show for Bird Note coming up at 8:42. With our eyes on the skies, sunset in Natural Bridge is at 7:52 tonight, and the moon is a waxing gibbous at 88% of full. Some light scattered showers are moving through the area this morning and early this afternoon. None are expected to linger very long, though. For the most part this week, dry conditions. There is a chance of showers most every day, but really nothing too serious aside from Thursday. And highs are expected to be pretty seasonable this week. Today in the upper 60s to mid 70s. Expected throughout the region. At last check, it was 55 degrees in Lowville, 54 degrees in Long Lake, 65 degrees already in Burlington, and 17 degrees in Kingston. Back in 2015, journalist Virginia Eubanks was at a writer's residency in the Adirondacks when she got the news that her partner had been violently attacked. He ended up getting surgery and dealing with long-lasting post-traumatic stress disorder. And as Eubanks transitioned to a caregiver, she developed PTSD as well.
Eubanks struggled to navigate health insurance claims and victim support systems, even though, as a journalist, her expertise was in reporting on bureaucracy. She chronicled the entire ordeal in a new memoir called A Guide to Open Water Lifesaving. She joined the Northwards podcast to talk with Mitch Teich about how systems are failing people who have suffered trauma.
Why do you think it is important for your very personal story to be out in the wild?
I have told many people in my life that I've been writing a memoir, and generally what I say next is I don't recommend it. I write in the book about some really difficult stuff that happened to me, and by association, some stuff that happened to my beloved partner, Jay. And I don't think I would have ever chosen to write a personal narrative unless I felt like I absolutely had to. So I'm a journalist and a researcher by trade, and I've written other books before. I mostly write about sort of technology, economic inequality, other stuff like this. And I was sort of thrown into this situation, and I felt deeply alone and confused and scared. And I really don't want other caregivers to feel that way. And so it's like a cliche. I know it's a cliche, but it also turns out to be true in this case, is that I wrote the book that I needed and couldn't find.
Did you approach it as a journalist? Could you evaluate your own life the way you would if you were writing this story about someone else?
Yeah. So you're going to learn a lot of interesting things. So let me just give like a little bit of context so people know what happened and a little bit more about what the book is about. On that night, the night of the first attack in October of 2015, I was literally called out of the woods. I was at Blue Mountain Center doing a writing residency, working on my last book, and into basically a whole new life as a caregiver. So I filled lots of gaps in the healthcare system, gaps in medical insurance, in criminal justice and legal services.
It's like system with a capital S.
Yeah. Disability, unemployment, behavioral health. And there were sort of, I'd say like a cascade of failures inside these systems. And I looked desperately for help. I knew that I was not alone, that the majority of people do caregiving at some point in their life. It's a really meaningful experience for a lot of people, but it is also really, really, really hard. And I felt really alone. And I'm literally a journalist and a researcher. My expertise is honestly in bureaucracy, and I still couldn't do it. And it made me just incredibly frustrated to think, if I can't do this, right? We had such good support. We had such good resources. I was so prepared to do this kind of research and this kind of balancing of bureaucratic navigation. If we can't do it, it is too hard, and no one should have to work this hard. And the crazy thing is that the first book that felt like it was useful and honest was the United States Lifeguarding Association's manual for open water life-saving. I actually brought it. This moment that I had was like, with 13 million people with PTSD in the country right now and 59 million kin caring for adult family and friends, why was I looking to a lifeguarding manual to figure out how to navigate the situation? And that's how I decided to write the book.
It is, despite being titled A Guide to Open Water Life-Saving, it's not exactly, you wouldn't want people to pick this up thinking that you've mapped out the way to do it, though, because I would hazard a guess that even after the process of living through it and writing about it, it's still hard, and you still don't know how to do it.
Yeah, so it is. I do think of the book as it's my story. And in some ways, it is our story, Jay's and mine. But it's also a survival manual. So there are sort of a surprising number of very practical lessons that are drawn from after I found the Lifeguarding Association manual. It kind of launched me into this series of adventures in outdoor survival training. And so most of the book is actually about these experiences I had in the woods and the water, what I learned from those experiences. I often went back to answer your question about being a journalist in this memoir. It is a reported memoir. I often went back and interviewed my instructors or interviewed neuroscientists. I also spent a lot of time going through tape recordings of our couples therapy, going through tape recordings of my therapy. I had 1,000 pages of single-space typed journal from this period. And so going through all that material was very much just like investigating my own life, which is a very strange experience. But once I got out into the sort of woods and the water, I started to learn things about how you can navigate these sort of traumatic caregiving situations better. I don't think there is any one answer. Every trauma is different. Every individual, every family is different. But I do think there are some surprisingly germane lessons from outdoor survival that are applicable to caregiving without sufficient resources.
We're having this conversation just a few days before the book goes out into the world. And when that happens, there will be reviews, there will be more interviews, there, I'm sure, will be appearances at bookstores and in libraries and other places. And, I wonder this, the same thing when I talk to say, songwriters who, write songs about their personal pain. And I think what it must be like to get up on stage and sing about a breakup that hurt them, and they sing it every night for years. How do you think you're going to get through the toll that it must take to talk about this really difficult part of your life every day for the next however many months that hopefully people will be paying attention to this book?
Yeah, I should be so lucky to have this problem, right? I really hope that the book finds the audience that I feel like needs it, and that I struggle with this this issue. And it's like what the Fleetwood Mac problem, right? Like you go on stage and I mean,
but Rumors was a great album.
It's an incredible album, right? Bless Stevie Nicks, but she had to perform with the breaky.
Oh my God!
Yes. I'm not having to do that. But I have really good tools for taking care of my mental health now. I won't say I'm grateful to PTSD because I'm not. It was unnecessary. Could have been avoided. Could have been prevented. Could have been predicted. if we had better systems. And I think that Jay's PTSD was perhaps inevitable after the severity of the things that happened to him. Mine was predictable and preventable, and I hold the systems that failed us accountable for that, or I try to do that in the book.
Virginia Eubanks on her memoir, A Guide to Open Water Life Saving. She spoke with Mitch Teich for the Northwards podcast. That's it for the show. Be well.